Welcome to Labster. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to learn something new. My name's Hannah.
Hey, my name's Camilo.
And today we're going to be spending some time getting you familiar with the Labster platform.
So over the next 10 minutes, we're going to dive into 3 different things. So who we are here at Labster, how we can help, and how we can build Labster into your course.
To give you a little bit of a sense of who we are here at Labster, we actually began as an outreach project at the University of Copenhagen in 2013. Our co-founder was a PhD student in charge of the introductory labs at the university. And the ultimate goal for bringing Labster onto the scene was to maximize learning for all different types of students. So he developed a platform that really gets the class on the same page, that engages students in the material, and gives teachers the best insight into how their students are taking in the topics that they're covering in class. And since 2013, we've grown rapidly, with a catalog of over 160 different simulations covering a variety of different disciplines. In the last semester alone, over 1,000 colleges and universities and over 1 million students are using Labster in their courses.
And as we continue to grow, we quickly realized that there's many different ways that students would be able to benefit from these simulations. Nearly any real-world scenario can be simulated. So we've conquered handling lab accidents in lab safety, mastering techniques and protocols, and essentially seeing things that students can't see in the real world, in this case, building molecules. But simulations give students the ability to retry experiments in a safe, cost-effective environment on your students' own terms.
This is improving student outcomes in a number of ways. The impact of these simulations has been able to really decrease the knowledge gap between your students, to improve their overall understanding of skill mastery, and not to mention, these simulations are accessible anytime, anywhere, and are highly engaging.
So I'm going to show you guys some snippets of what the platform actually looks like, and as I talk through how we're able to achieve such outcomes. But by providing virtual labs that incorporate real experimental data and algorithms that allow students to change the variables and observe outcomes as they would do in a real wet lab. So currently, the Labster platform has just about 160 different simulations. Each is actually a gamified case study covering 1 to 2 lectures and 1 lab practical session. And for your typical student, these are going to take just about 45 minutes on average to complete. Each simulation is built around the storyline that links the abstract theory and techniques covered to the real-world application. But as a student in any of your courses, they're going to be required to complete every step that they would complete in a real wet lab. In doing so, your students are actually learning that lab protocol. So instead of being a simple digitized version of a real lab, the platform allows me to learn in the way that's essentially not possible in a real lab environment. Labster incorporates interactive cellular and molecular visualization, multiple choice questions, the ability to change variables, and allow your students to make mistakes in this environment. Each simulation is actually graded, and then the platform is integrated into your institution's learning management system, so there's no need to transfer grades or manually grade any of these.
Looking into just a little bit more detail, I'm going to walk you through our faculty resource page. After you speak with a member of our team, you're going to have access to this sandbox environment that's going to allow you to really assess a couple of things about our simulations. You can click into the discipline that's reflective to what you teach at your institution, and you'll be able to look through our simulations in a little bit more depth than you would traditionally on our website. You can click into any of these topics and get a better understanding of really how we're conquering the material. You'll be able to see everything from the PDF of the quiz questions that the students are asked periodically throughout the simulation. You can play the simulation as if you were a student, getting the full student user experience, or you can play these pre-recorded videos of somebody else going through the simulation. It's a really good opportunity for you to have a hands-free experience to really chop through the lab and see the ways that these simulations are run. Every simulation runs relatively similar. You'll be given a real-world problem at hand. In this particular simulation, if we scroll a bit forward here, we're going to get dropped into the situation. So we're going to be speaking with the captain of the basketball team and one of his players who have pretty different energy levels in today's game. So we're going to take their blood samples back to the lab and figure out why that is. After we've collected a little bit of information from them, when we head back to the lab, we are going to have to prepare for the lab as we would traditionally. So we're going to go over into our locker and we're going to grab our lab coat. From there, we're also going to have to put on our gloves and we'll head into the lab and we'll be working at multiple different workbenches as we would traditionally, but we're also going to be able to do a couple of things that we maybe wouldn't get to do in a traditional wet lab. Here you can see we're going to be posed with some questions along the way. We're going to be able to manipulate the oxygen levels, have the analysis of the blood samples that we see, be able to dispose of our materials properly, and work through the lab. If we scroll forward just a bit more, we're going to be brought to a hollow table, this interactive experience that Camila was mentioning on the cellular and molecular level of what we're studying, giving students another angle to really tackle the topic and understand it a bit better. If we scroll down just a bit further, we're going to be able to see the techniques that are covered in the lab, as well as the learning objectives that go along with it. And to the left, you'll see essentially an abstract of how this all falls together.
So there's a few different ways that Labster can be deployed in your courses. In a flipped classroom environment, students would have to complete a simulation prior to that week's lecture. That will give them an idea about the topics and techniques that may be applicable to what you're covering in your course. These would be graded homework assignments, so not only will they be on the same page as you, but we will also have a graded work in your gradebook for that specific week.
A pre-lab exercise is another way, a productive way for students to complete a simulation of an experiment that's really similar to what you're working on prior to coming to lab. That way, when they arrive to lab, they've already gone through something similar and will feel familiar with what they're about to do, freeing up more time for you or your lab coordinator or teacher's assistant to help with the experiment itself and not just the setup. Not to mention, it's really going to boost their confidence in the topic.
And lastly, a fully online lab course. These simulations would be assigned weekly and completed as a graded lab assignment, giving students access to something they typically wouldn't have otherwise.
Altogether, Labster is going to be benefiting your students in a variety of ways by providing realistic simulations that will help students relate back to the real world. These research-based activities are framed in an immersive animated environment that will create an opportunity for students to really test their skills, to learn through productive failure, and to have fun while they're doing it. Now we can talk a little bit about how we're actually going to implement Labster into your course.
So once we've actually determined if Labster is a good fit for your course, there's going to be a few things that take place. So the first step is custom course mapping. So we're going to collect your syllabus or course outline from you, and shortly after, we're going to connect to go through what our team has found based on your outcomes. In the meantime, you will have access to play with all our simulations yourself to generate your own list of simulations that you think best align with your curriculum. Once we finalize the simulations you're going to use, our customer success team will connect with your IT department to integrate it into your learning management system. These are just a few learning management systems that we're compatible with, and we've also recently added Google Classrooms and Schoology to that list. But if we decide an LMS integration isn't the best route, students will actually be able to access our simulations through a platform called Labster Direct. And on the screen, you'll see a preview of what the interface looks like from a student's perspective. So once that's complete, you can work with a team member here at Labster to discuss our different purchasing options. And this whole process can be completed within about a week, giving you time back to focus on your current semester. If you're interested in learning more, please log on to and visit our website to get a better sense of how Labster could complement your course.
Our ultimate goal is really similar to yours. It's to empower the next generation of science students and to reinvent science education. Hope to talk to you soon.